Good evening and welcome to another Brohalla podcast, Mead Hall edition. I am Will, your host this evening, along with two other members of the Brohalla team, Scott and Jason. Unfortunately, Matthew cannot be with us this evening as he has prior engagements. So, buckle in. We're going to chat a bit, talk about some events, what we're working on, and things to come. All right, guys, how's everybody doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, Will. Thanks. This is for those tuning in. This is Scott. Happy almost summer here.
Yeah.
Great to be back on.
Temperatures getting up here in the Midwest.
Absolutely. Summertime. It's coming. Excited.
The
Oh,
heat is
you're probably. I
on.
was
Oh,
just
go
say
ahead.
Jason's probably more excited because as a school teacher,
Three more weeks, baby.
have,
3 more weeks.
he gets to have an actual summer off.
3 more weeks. Well, kind of. I do have backup job, so
Well,
I am
true,
a teacher.
yes.
I can't not work in the summer, unfortunately. But
I
I'm
was gonna
not
say,
working every day.
It's summer in the Midwest. The heat's on. The smoke is down from the fires in Canada. All is right in the world.
And it's awesome. Now, speaking of all that's right in the world, let's move on to talking about some fun gaming stuff. We had KennedyCon. I don't know if anybody tuned in and kind of saw the little bit of a quick live stream that we did during KennedyCon just to kind of show everybody around. But Jason was actually the one who put that on specifically. So, Jason, why don't you give us a little bit more information about it and kind of how many people showed up and what games were represented?
Sure. It was fantastic. It turned out fantastic, way better than I could have ever hoped for a first time event. We had 97 people along 5 game titles, which was pretty ambitious. And I think everything went as smooth as it could have. Feedback was pretty solid. People had a lot of fun. The space ended up kind of perfect for the event because size we did in our large gym, and it was everything I hoped it could be. We had 5 game titles. The big one was 40K, as probably not a shock to most people. We had 47 attendees. That game was run by Just Thomas, who also runs. He's kind of the premier runner of 40K events in the Midwest. He does IWOG at First Turn Games and a bunch of other things. So he was actually one of the first contacts I made because I knew that would kind of be the driving force for the event. 40K is 40K, brings people. We all know that. Whether you like the game or not. But the people that came really enjoyed the game and had a really good time. We also had Infinity, which was run by Scott. And it was the comeback of the Iowa incident. It was
this was the Iowa incident, March 6th.
March 6th.
Yep, sixth time it was
the first time we've done it since 2018, I believe, or 16?
Correct. Yep, 2018.
I always have to get the shirt out to remember. And so it came back, and actually it was for having 10 people at an event that we hadn't run in 6 years. I'll take it. It was just good to see Infinity back in Iowa. I felt. We also ran MCP. This was an LVO qualifier. We had 12 people playing, and I can talk a little bit more about that. Isaac Weddington ran that event, but a lot of our locals came for that qualifier. We had Jacob Deaton, Michael Jansen, Stephen Peterson, Ian, Garrett, a lot of really top-notch MCP players that are in our meta. And I will, as we'll kind of, I think I'll just, I'll break that down as we kind of go back through the games. And then we have Star Wars Legion, which was run by Ryan Gordon. 8 people were at that. And then we also did the first Star Wars Unlimited premiere tournament. I think it was probably the biggest one since its release 2 months ago. And we had 20 people at that. Very low key. As everybody that plays the game knows, there's not any prize support out there right now.
And that,
So
so Star Wars Unlimited is the
that's a trading
customizable
card
game, right? Okay.
Yep, that's a trading card game. So normally, you'd get booster packs and things like that. That was not the case. People paid $5 just to come sit and play. They got some promo packs that were donated by First Turn Games and Geek City, and yeah, it went fantastic. Everybody had a blast. So
Awesome.
yeah,
So,
that's kind of the overview of what went down.
so in most of those
And great.
games span Saturday and Sunday, correct? It's like
Yep.
40K,
The 40 gig was a
Infinity, and
2-day event.
MCP were 2 day.
Infinity was 2 day. MCP ended up being a 2 day.
Okay.
Uh, but we did the 2 day for the LEVO qualifier was we had a top cut of 4. So those 4 played on Sunday morning, but then they also did, I think, a what if event. It wasn't what if, but it was an OP kit that they did. I don't even remember which one they did, but they did that one for the toilet bowl trophy, which our other Brohalla member's son actually won and was super stoked about
Oh,
that.
that's awesome. I hear
Um,
you on that.
Yeah, Riley won that
yeah,
one.
he was really excited.
He was.
And
He was.
Legion was a 1 day on Saturday, and Unlimited was a 1 day on Sunday.
Awesome.
So what
That's a lot
did
of fun.
you end up raising for your the
In the end, after expenses, we pulled in about $3,500, which for a first year event I will take.
That's pretty good.
That gets
For
me
those,
that gets me from $0 to $3,500. So I will take it.
I was going to say, for anyone who is not in the know, Jason is the coach of an esports team at one of the high schools in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And this was specifically a fundraiser for the esports team, which are now 2-time state champions as of earlier this week.
Yep.
That's correct.
So congratulations.
We had a meeting after we had our professional development meeting afterwards, and my principal was like, kind of publicly congratulated. Like, he's probably the only sports or activity that can possibly win 2 state titles in a year. So,
I mean, so the first one was Overwatch, correct?
Yeah, we won Overwatch in the Winter League.
Okay.
And then we just on Tuesday won Valorant.
So I'm gonna throw a little bit of shade on maybe the rest of the sports year school. When was the last time anybody else at KennedyCon won state?
Or anybody at Kennedy High School won state?
Yeah.
Basketball was close. They were runner up this year. Baseball was probably the last team sport, and that was pre-COVID, somewhere around 2010, 2012-ish, 20-ish, somewhere around there was the last time. And I mean, people want individual state titles. That's as far as team. That's probably baseball. Is probably the last one from my memory.
Well,
no. Actually, softball won one more recent. They won one, I think, like 4 years ago.
Well, congrats to Kennedy for winning.
Congratulations. And there's one additional thing I want to expand on at KennedyCon. Because we hosted it in the school gymnasium, Jason arranged to have the gaming computers set up with a giant screen with one of them streaming on that. So anybody who truly wanted to watch and see what these students could actually do on their computers was able to watch them, play whichever games they were playing. I think I saw some Rocket League in there, Valorant that you just mentioned, or Valorant. I forget which one it is. Is it Valorant?
It's
Valorant. Sorry, old man doesn't know how to say some of these newer game titles. It was really just a lot of fun to watch them, apply their craft.
And it was very much, I mean, I just wanted people to see what they were donating to. That's the important thing. It is actually going to a worthy cause. The kids aren't the most outgoing bunch, being computer type kids. Some of them came in and showed what they get. I had some good conversations with some people. Oh, I used to play Rocket League competitively 5 years ago or whatever, and they kind of wanted to take them on, but they were doing other things, so they were not able to find enough time to do that.
Maybe next year.
Maybe
for that. That's possible. If you don't mind, let me talk a little bit about Infinity, because just overall the whole thing was fun.
Yeah, walk us through the incident again.
Yeah, so Iowa incident, March 6th. So Will here was actually the innovator and brainchild behind Iowa incident. I believe the first one, if I remember correctly, had 4 attendees.
Yes, the first one was like just an excuse to get together and play a tournament, like a little. It was this was like 20
13
20.
probably.
No, it was after Ice Storm, and Ice Storm was
So it was 2014 then.
2014,
Yep, 2014.
and it was literally just let's get together and actually play this game in a tournament setting because at that point none of us had really done it. It was still kind of it was Infinity in and beginnings of N3 at that point. Like there
Oh
were
yeah.
there
Yeah.
were I remember I had gone to like Adepticon that year in 2014 in this as like my first like I'm gonna go play this game and went in and walked into the Adepticon Grand Tournament and got graciously stomped to the ground as one should when you're first going in. So, but
That
this
was
was
me.
like
That was me 2 years later at the Adepticon Grand Tournament. Also, that
so,
was my
but this
first
was
ever event.
like all right, well we have like you meet some people playing locally and like let's do this, let's go do this thing and it's just humble beginnings and it's like well let's try something bigger and it grew from there.
And if I remember correctly, 2018, which is the one we had in the theater
Hmm.
there in Cedar Rapids, we had what, like 67 attendees, I
I
believe.
We
believe
had 60.
60.
60
Okay.
It
people
might have been
ended up being
62. It might have been 62, but it was the 60-62 range.
hmm
Okay. So that's
so
pretty good. That's
and I
that's
mean that's
nothing to
that's
sneeze at.
no it's not and I at that year I basically had to put pause on it because I decided to have kids and it's very hard to like plan stuff with having little kids around so
That is true.
and I'm still not out of that I decided to have another kid so
So everything went on hiatus, and then COVID happened and everything like that. So we decided,
yeah
hey, KennedyCon's a perfect excuse to bring back the Iowa incident, and that's where Will asked me to help out and run it, and I said absolutely, more than happy to help run some Infinity, and we had I think Jason already mentioned we had 10 players, one of which was from Iowa. There, Matt, our fellow Brohallan, who was the only person to have played in all 6 Iowa incidents.
yes
I believe everybody else came from either Minnesota or Kansas City area,
that sounds correct so
which was still awesome because almost all of those players and those guys are now great friends, at least of mine. Probably I would say ours, with it, without putting words in your mouth. But yeah, they're great friends of ours. It's great to see them because it's usually once, maybe twice a year. If we can eke out a third or fourth time a year, that's just even better. So it was great to hang out with everybody once again. And we did 5 rounds. We did three games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday with some camaraderie and hanging out at the bar next to Jason's house on Saturday night with some great food and great company. And we just all had a blast. So looking forward to doing it again next year.
yeah I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to partake next year in it I had sadly stuff come up that I could not make it and attend and play so I missed out.
I mean, you made a guest appearance, so you weren't
He did
officially
make
Sir
a
Not
guest
appearing.
appearance.
I
You weren't
I popped
officially Sir Not appearing in this film.
I popped my head in and said, "Hey, everybody," and then had to get back to being dad.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Well, so we've kind of mentioned so much about next year. Jason, did you? Well, before we move on to that, do you have anything else you wanted to kind of talk about with
Um,
the other
yeah, I'm just gonna
game
top.
systems?
I'm just gonna top off on MC because MCP is the game I play. That's my tournament game. I did not play in this. It was better that I keep track of the overall events. But Jacob Deaton and Garrett Knepper and Steven Peterson and Mike Jansen all made top cuts. And Michael Jansen was the end one who ended up winning it all over Jacob. It was a Web Warriors mirror match.
Oh, okay.
Jacob will tell you he hates mirror matches. He them at all costs. But Web Warriors is the hot ticket right now. That's probably top tier tournament affiliations right now, and those both play it very, very well. I could not watch it, which is unfortunate because I'd like to, but Jansen ended up taking it. They're both fantastic players. Jansen placed top 8 in the Challenger event, Decepticon this past year. Jacob, I think, is ranked top 8 player in the world on Longshanks currently. So we got some really strong MCP players. The other people that played are Colt Ridley, Keenan Elmore, Tony Selly, Robert Morris, and I wanted to really point out those guys because a lot of them helped with bring terrain. Tony Maselli helped bring terrain. Geek City brought a bunch of terrain. Jason Clark's store down in North Liberty. So huge thanks to all those guys. I know Infinity people brought loads of terrain as they always do.
Always do. We had 2 make their way from the Kansas City area, and I believe we had 1 more coming down from Minnesota.
So just like anything, it was just another. I'm fortunate that we didn't have to wait too long to have our communities back together. Only a month, 5 weeks after Adepticon, which was a worry of mine, it being that close. But I think in the end, it turned out fantastic. I just have to give props, shout out to all my Brohalla guys for all the help. We've been talking about this event since August of last year when I had the idea. I took the idea from Bug Eater, another event that their event fundraises for their debate team.
Yeah, I believe you're correct.
Like, you know what? I need a fundraiser. I don't want to sell cookies. I don't want to sell pizza. I have no desire to do that. None of my kids have desires to do that, but I know how to run events and I know people that can run tournaments. So it's here to stay. The feedback was phenomenal. The amount of space people had playing was probably the biggest compliment. Now, the bigger we get, obviously we get back into same logistical issues as any other event. But I have a whole nother gym space that I had reserved that we didn't even touch.
Awesome.
So we've got the room, we've got the gamers, and we've got the date. It will be, the plan is right now, May 3rd and 4th of 2025. It's on the school calendar as far as I know. And yeah, it's here to stay as long as I'm doing it.
That's pretty awesome. And with those dates, something tells me Legion, Shatterpoint, and Unlimited are going to be the hot ticket items since it'll be actually on Star Wars Day.
Yep. It's going to be the problem is that everybody likes to play all the same things. Unfortunately, you can't play it all.
Not at the same time, no.
Not at the same time. So we'll see how it shakes out. I mean, I'm pretty sure MCP is going to switch to a LVO format, which I should have done this year, which I didn't because I didn't know it existed. Which it'll be just a 5-round on a Saturday, top person wins is how that tournament's going. We're not going to do a top cut next year. Straight 5 rounds. So MCP players, if they want to do something Star Warsies on Sunday, they'll have options. Yeah, and I think assuming the Legion community comes back after they made their Worlds announcement. I heard some people around here sold their armies like right away. Then they came back and said, by the way, we're still doing it. But that's a whole nother story for another podcast, and I don't know the details, and other people have talked about it, so they're blue in the face. So what's important is that we'll be playing games on that weekend.
Raising money for a good cause.
Yep.
I think it's a good cause. We're getting more kids out, but yeah, it was fantastic.
It's almost like adding a 4th thing to the Brohalla tagline of gaming, fun, and friends. It's gaming, fun, friends, and fundraising.
Well, only one fundraiser. That's all we have to worry about. We're not doing anything more. Although the interesting thing is Josh, who ran the 40K, actually contacted me a couple weeks ago. spot for their Kansas City event. I think they got canceled, and he was so there is possibilities that not every game will be played, but 40K might get a couple more dates based on our base.
Oh, okay.
So
Very
I've
cool.
opened the can of worms. I hope the word of mouth is there, and maybe Infinity will get back to where it was.
We're hoping.
It
We're
just
hoping.
it takes people playing, and
Yep.
coming out of COVID,
Yep.
it's hard. So
And it takes people playing around here. And
yeah,
our buddy Matt is back in town, and like we always get rejuvenated. But the fact that he is in town now, and there's 3 of us now,
yeah.
2 of us, um, who knows? Maybe it'll get a little more play.
I think it'd be fantastic. Oh darn! You mean I have to drive out there more often? How
Yeah.
terrible! That happens. All right.
Well,
So
and
Jason, just
yeah,
kind of to wrap up there. One, thank you for coming up with the idea. I thought it was, I mean, I think you said this at the beginning. I think it exceeded expectations, and it was fun everywhere I turned and looked, and I walked through, all the different game systems. When I had the opportunity to, with a little bit of downtime. That's one of the best parts about being a TO is you're actually able to just kind of have a little bit of downtime, and you can wander away and come back about 5-6 minutes later. And it was great seeing a lot of painted armies, some great tables. It sounded like everybody was just laughing, having fun, enjoying themselves. So that was, fantastic. Plus, on top of it, raising money for the esports team. So great idea,
And
great
I
follow through,
cannot
awesome
forget. I
job.
almost forgot. I have to thank my wife and my mother-in-law as well, because
Yes.
they ran all of my concessions. Which was there's a reason why I put them in charge of it. I knew I wouldn't have to think about it. So my wife has an event management background. My mother-in-law has done that sort of stuff. So I'm like, it's yours. I think little things like that made a difference for the
Yeah.
players.
They did. They did. Having the concessions there, I think, was really good to have that for just those little snacks and those beverages and things like that. But then for lunch times on both days, having the food trucks was a great idea. So well done on
That
getting
turned out really well.
And yeah, I agree. Especially since you made sure that we talked as the TOs of each game system ahead of time to figure out where breaks were, so all the breaks weren't at the same time. I think that
staggering
really
it
helped. Yeah.
that was really good too.
Yeah. So
yeah, well,
excellent
thanks
job.
everybody. It was fantastic. Keep an eye out for 2025. It's going to keep going as long as I'm involved. Even if I not work at the school, I probably do it without that.
Awesome.
All right. Well, now with KennedyCon wrapped up, what is next on the horizon, guys? What do we have to look forward to?
Well, obviously Gen Con. Gen Con for me is at least the next big thing. We're less than 3 months away.
Don't tell me that already.
We're less than 3
Where's
months
time
away.
going?
I will never go until I retire from football. I'm done coaching football. That'll be my first year at Gen Con.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Not awesome that you're missing it now, but awesome that I'm going to make
Yeah.
sure I'm there at that one.
It will happen eventually.
Awesome. Yeah. So with Gen Con, I went back, gosh, this was like 1996, 97, somewhere. So mid to late 90s, when it was still up in Milwaukee. So that's how long ago it was. I remember even one of the nights, because it was in Milwaukee, Goldfinger and No Doubt was playing at the Eagle Ballroom rave, which is a couple,
Wow.
it's a couple miles, I believe, west of where Gen Con was being held. So my buddy and I actually made sure we had tickets, and we went to that the one night, and it was pretty fantastic. But because come on, it was Goldfinger and No Doubt back in the
in the
height of their careers in the 90s, beginning of their careers. Then when Gen Con moved in, I think it was in 2000, I believe, to Indianapolis, I kind of fell off the radar where I was in life and things like that. And then in 2016, Grant Feder and I went down there for Infinity. That was my first time back in 18, 19 years. and it was so wildly different than what I remembered because, in Milwaukee at the time, it was kind of fractured and it was in different buildings and stuff like that because of just, the amount of space they needed at the time,
Yeah.
and what the buildings were then. And it made sense to, for the move to Indy, seeing what it was by the time I got to it in 2016. Just so much fun. Just so much fun. And I've been back every year since, with the exception of 2017, which was the 50th anniversary of Gen Con's founding. So I unfortunately was not able to attend that because it actually sold out of tickets.
I was at
But
that one. I remember being there for
awesome.
it.
Awesome. I then went back in 2018, 2019, and then 2020 was obviously, the great unclean one. Papa Nurgle actually won all tournaments that year with his Pestilence. And then 2021 was really kind of like that soft launch back, and there was no Infinity, and that was the main reason I was going. So I took that year off as well, but then back in 22 and 23. So I'm really looking forward to seeing again, like several of that same Infinity community. This is like that second time a year I get to see a lot of these folks. Sometimes it's only one time. Because I see them at Adepticon, I see them at Gen Con. Some of them I only see at Adepticon, some of them I only see at Gen Con. So it's like seeing that extended family spread out across several months at different points in time at different events.
Yeah.
So,
Gen Con's a fun time. I mean, there's a lot there. Like I went a number of years when it was in Milwaukee. I think I went the last year it was in Milwaukee. I went the first year it was in Indianapolis. So, and this is, I'm the youngin in the group. So this was when I was in high school, and we basically had a friend who his parents got divorced, and his dad was like willing to win over any points with his kids. So he just dragged like 6 teenage boys to Indianapolis and just we ran amok with it was a lot of fun. And then I went I took a couple years off because graduated high school and doing stuff, and you're a poor kid, don't have money. And then in 20 oh no it was like 2010 I started going in with like my high school friends. And then um the first year my wife and I were dating in 2012, I'm like, this is like 3 months after us dating. I'm like, do you want to randomly go to a game convention with a bunch of guys and sleep in a hotel room with a bunch of people to keep it cheap? And we went, and it was a blast. And we went like 2012 through 20, I think it was like 2018 was the last year I went.
I was gonna say, and she still married you?
She's still married to me.
Okay, just
So,
checking.
um, so like, but and then kids and like anything after 2018, it's like, I'm not traveling for a while. But I mean, it's a Gen Cons is a good time. It's packed. There's lots of people there, but I mean, there's like it's something from everybody. Like if you like board games, if you like miniature games, if you like cosplay, if you like RPGs, like just everything is there. It's a lot of
Mhm.
fun, but you
Yeah,
have to plan. You can't just like on a whim go, because if you just on a whim go, you're gonna end up just wandering the convention hall and not get into any like the fun stuff like doing the events, because again it's the biggest gaming event in the United States. Like,
I mean, you can honestly, I think you can just go, but even then, you're gonna need maybe a day, maybe two, to be able to just wander around, kind of see it all, and
right, I mean, if you just
and wander through stuff.
if there's
I mean,
something you
that
want to
works.
do, like let's say you want to go play in the Infinity tournament, you're gonna
Hmm.
need to sign up for it and be prepared. You can't just like
Correct. Yes,
go in and be like,
yes.
hey guys, I showed up and I want to play in this Infinity tournament, thumbs up there, and be like, I'm sorry chief, we sold out 2 months ago.
Yeah, for that I would definitely agree. But
So
the good thing, so Jason, since you haven't attended Gen Con before, it's both very similar to, but also wildly different than Adepticon, because Adepticon has a hyper focus on tabletop miniatures gaming. Yes, there's the board game library. That's one smaller corner out of the grand footprint of Adepticon. So it's got this hyper focus on not only tabletop miniatures, but also specifically the tournament scene of tabletop miniatures. Yeah, we've got the vendor hall. There's demos in the vendor hall, but there's not, this large push of demo games. As a whole at Adepticon, you do have definitely some of it, but there's not like this huge push on it. Whereas Gen Con, however, is a big mix of all of that together. We'll mention you have board games everywhere, card games, tabletop miniatures games, uh, you know, cosplay. There's different courses and classes and seminars and all these different things you can take. But the biggest piece of Gen Con that's different than Adepticon is that this is the place where game manufacturers are rolling out and showing you their new games, whether it's a brand new release then and there, or it's a coming attraction, coming soon, demo game like Warcrow was last year, to kind of share it with the masses and get some feedback and things like that. This is the place to do it for game manufacturers, which is, to me, it's one of my favorite parts. That's how I found out. What game did we play? Dodo's Riding Dinos. That's how I found it. That's how I found it last year. Sean and I were wandering around the vendor hall on whatever random day we were wandering around, and there was a gentleman at a booth wearing one of those like blow up dinosaur costumes, where it looks like he's riding the dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, we have to see what this is. So we pulled over, and a gentleman explained the game to us in about 15 seconds. He said it was like Mario Kart with little miniatures, little chibi miniatures, or not even chibis, just little, plastic miniatures of dodo birds riding dinosaurs. But instead of pretending to throw a shell, or whatever the projectiles are, you actually physically throw the bananas or roll the log or whatever. We're like, okay, we're each taking one. It took the guy about 15 seconds to make that sale.
Wow.
And then
you guys aren't normally like hard sales anyway.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
He's like, sir, you had me at dodo.
You're not really wrong on that statement. And then, so that's how I brought Dodo's Riding Dinos to our first recording session, and I know I had a blast playing it, and you guys did too. So I even have an expansion now. So next time we get together, I'll bring the expansion with. So yeah, so going back to kind of my point of it's similar, but a vastly different beast.
Yeah.
Not even, not just the size of it, because the vendor hall at Gen Con is like 100 times the size the vendor hall at Adepticon.
Yeah,
and that's
it's
not
truly
even
massive, and you can spend a day in there and not see everything. Like it's a feat. Like
Yeah.
you get in there, just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
And there's so many authors and artists
mm-hmm.
and folks like that. They've got specifically like a little artist row. Just
rows. It's like
rows. Yeah, it's a section.
it's not
It's a
a
section.
row.
Authors signing their books, taking time to talk to you, and artists selling their prints, and and talking about all their art and stuff like that. And it's really cool to wander and talk to all these different folks, and just immerse yourself in the larger gaming and pop culture phenomenon.
I can remember being at Gen Con in like 2013 or 2012, like one of those years, and rolling by CB, which at that point was like paired with Battle Foam in there,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing like, oh hey, this Anaconda model looks really cool, and then me going like, oh, it's all metal, I don't want to do that right now. And going like, and now I'm feeling like, man, I missed out. I should have like just focused in and got something a little bit earlier. But that was that was in 2 days.
Yeah, and I hadn't even heard of the game at that point. I think I learned about it in 2015.
I actually remember seeing it there, but at the time, a really good friend who's now my brother-in-law had picked up a couple of like the starter boxes at like clearance when a game store was going out at a sale. He was like, "Hey, do you want one of these? We tried it out. It was kind of fun." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll paint it up," and then threw it in my closet and never got around to it for like a year and a half. And then when Ice Storm was coming out, I remember like seeing the stuff on like this is gonna date us Beasts of War, which isn't even a thing any. They're not Beasts of War anymore. But they were like showing the renders, and I'm like, oh, this actually looks really good. Like the miniatures really impressed me, and I
Mhm.
went and pulled the old. It's like it was a Yujing starter,
Okay.
and
Yep.
it wasn't the first Yujing starter. It was the second Yujing because the first one, those first Zanshi are really rough. It was the second gen one, and go back and painting those up just to go. How do I need to paint these? How do I need to paint metal again? I haven't painted metal in years, and kind of get yourself started in the universe. So, but yeah.
Nice.
Um, so Gen Con this year, what's going on at Gen Con for Infinity? Do we know?
For Infinity, we do not.
Or
For
we'll
Corvus
proceed
Belly as a
to tangent.
whole, it is Warcrow the War Game is officially being released.
That's awesome.
Yes.
It's gonna be fun.
So Winds of the North is coming out, which is the starter box. That's the hegemony of Ember's Egg against the Northern Tribes that we've talked about on a couple of the different shows. So that starter box plus the rules book and I believe an exclusive miniature will be specifically available as a bundle at the Corvus Belly booth at Gen Con. And they also have a pre-order going on their website starting in, I believe it's July 15th through
That sounds about right.
July 15th through August 4th. August 4th being the last day of Gen Con.
I don't know if anybody's picked up, but we're actually like really excited about Warcrow. We talk about it so far a lot.
Yes. And so, every year I've been at Gen Con, aside from 2016, so 2018 through now, I've offered my services to help do demos or run tournaments for Infinity and things like that. And I've reached out to James again. He's the local war corps in Indianapolis who's been running the Gen Con, war corps, not to be confused with War Crow. So the war corps are the Corvus Belly volunteers, the fans of the game like ourselves that help organize communities in our area, and organize game nights and tournaments and things like that. So James was as far as I know, the first war corps there in Indianapolis. At least he's been the war corps in Indy since I started playing the game in 2016, 2015, right in that area. But he has taken the reins of Gen Con and done a tremendous job. I know it's a lot to organize all that, to keep all of those terrain tables locally, as well as identify and find people to volunteer, because not only do we have the tournaments, and I've got the list up here in a second. I can kind of discuss what those are that he's got on the docket, but we also run several demo game tables at the same time. So Jason, this is one thing that's definitely different from Adepticon. So when you ran it, or if you want to take a demo at Adepticon, you're usually doing it at the booth in the vendor hall, right? And it's a real quick 10, 15, 20-minute demo at that point, right? Just enough to kind of draw your attention and maybe get you to buy the game, or at least keep thinking about it till you do. With Gen Con, part of the Corvus Belly sections that they've, because they have to pay for table space in the gaming hall, the large gaming hall in the convention center, one row of tables is solely dedicated to larger demo games to really truly get a feel for how a larger game would play. So like last year we had, the beta testing of Warcrow, the war game on one end. The other end was Warcrow Adventures. Then we had in the middle, we had one game of Rem Racers, which is now officially out, which is a heck of a lot of fun. Quick board game, lots of fun. Next to that, we had, I think it was 3 tables of Infinity, but specifically using the Operation Black Wind models, as well as the terrain from the starter boxes and the slightly smaller game mat than the standard 4x4. But during those demos, you actually start walking through all of the beginner scenarios in the operation, whatever the operation happens to be that year, the operation box, walking through the scenarios, the starter scenarios in that game, where you start introducing, okay, now you've introduced camouflage, in game 2. Game 3, you introduce, something else like it's not hacking, but
Yeah, but you
you start adding
adding
in.
in those
Start
more
adding up.
advanced concepts.
Yep. And then next to that, we had Aristea. So and when people show up with tickets for that, it's actually a 2-hour time slot. So you're really spending time being able to ask a whole bunch of in-depth questions, walking through all different types of mechanics that you don't really get in a 10, 15-minute demo. So it's that added extra layer, and that happens for several of the different, manufacturers. They set it up in that manner. So
And
I will be volunteering my time again for that. Sorry, well, go ahead.
I was going to say, James and his crew do a really good job at that. I mean, that's such an important integral thing to kind of keying people into the game and going, well, this is what this game really is. Do you spend your time? How do you want to spend your time? If you really want to get to know it, make that informed purchase.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, the indie crew does a really, really good job with it.
Yep. So that's what I'm going to be doing again this year, is volunteering my time to James, so he can slot me wherever he wants me. If he needs me to run tournaments, do Warcrow demos, Infinity demos, you name it. It's going to be fun either way. Get to talk about games that I enjoy with other volunteers that are, have quickly moved from acquaintances to friends to my chosen gaming family. So being able to spend that time for 4.5, 5 days is just a lot of fun. It's what I look forward to every summer. That being said, we can quickly talk, aside from those demos, I've got the Interstellar Games with a Z at the end of games. Their website blog up, which has all of the specific Infinity items that will be available at Gen Con, which I believe tickets actually go on sale for events this weekend. So like in 2 days.
What's
so
coming up then?
I think it's this Sunday, since we're recording this on Friday evening. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that'd
Thursday
be
of Gen
Sunday
Con.
the 19th.
Sunday the 19th, I believe. I'll double check that here in a second, unless somebody else can pull it up. But what I can tell you right now is on Thursday, starting at 9 a.m., is the Gen Con Infinity Grand Prix. This is their flagship event specifically. It is 4 rounds of Infinity over 1 day, consisting of firefight, frontline, countermeasures, and hunting party. Then Friday at 10 a.m. is the narrative event. So Chad Bussell, the mad genius that he is, who's also another workhorse from the from the Indianapolis Infinity community, who he's run several narrative events before, specifically at Gen Con, Adepticon, what am I missing? Warfare Weekend down in St. Louis,
Yes.
which I believe is November. He's run it there. So he's run his own specific, just, non-convention related narrative events. His mind is a beautifully scary place with all of the inventive things he comes up with. It is a treat to just sit back and watch the fun unravel based on all of these quirky and amazing things he comes up with. And he does work with a bunch of other folks, but depending on the year, like I know he's worked with James Pittman before, and Clay Lundy and folks like that at different things. But it's like, it feels like, and everybody has great input. It just feels like Chad seems to be that chaos catalyst that adds to all of this insanity. And it's always fun to watch unravel. So if you've never played an Infinity narrative event run by Chad, cannot recommend it enough. So much fun. So that's Friday. Saturday at 2 p.m. And I believe that's such a late start because this is pure guessing without actually going and looking at the full agenda. I believe the Corvus Belli seminar is earlier on Saturday, so they won't be running any events during the seminar. So everybody that's there volunteering, playing, you name it, can specifically go and attend the seminar that will be run by Carlos Bostria, who will tell us all of the things that are coming up for Infinity, Warcrow, anything else that Corvus Belli hasn't told us about yet that they want to tell us about, then he'll be running that. That should be Saturday morning.
Nice.
So Saturday at 2 p.m. is the non-ITS, so non-Infinity Tournament Systems team tournament. So similar to the Adepticon team tournament, it's 2 players side by side at the same table, 200-point lists each for a larger 400-point event. And that will be Uplink Center, Annihilation, and Cutthroat. Teams will be assigned randomly, so just show up with your 200-point list and be ready to have some fun. Random fun. And then followed by Sunday at 8 a.m. is Infinity Armageddon. This is a single combat group 300-point list. And here's the fun part. All combatants will converge on a single table. No holds barred.
Interesting.
So it's going to be conducted by 2 teams of 8 facing off across the table. So it's 8 players against 8 players. Everyone has a 300-point list in a single combat group.
On a 4x4?
It's not going to be 4x4.
Is it going to be?
It's probably almost a single row, probably, of tables.
One contiguous
yes.
4x32 or something like that.
Something like that. It doesn't say in the description, but it should be something like that.
Saying Armageddon, think 40K. Think the Armageddon games are these massive big ones.
Yeah.
That where's that sniper? What has the biggest range in the game?
Sniper rifle.
Sniper rifle. I'm gonna shoot 2 tables that way.
Yep.
Oh man.
Which should be a lot of fun. So I can't wait to either play in that or just witness it.
Hold on. Let me get my Van Zandt.
Oh, Duroc could have a lot of fun with that table.
I brought some parachutists. How far is the edge of the table? Got 8 feet that way.
That'll be awesome, actually. I look forward to hearing and witnessing all of the the fun that will happen there. Plus, like I said, we'll have the Infinity Warcrow and Rem Racer demos.
Nice.
Yep.
Sounds like it's going to be a good time.
I can't wait. Oh, yes. Here, I'm sorry. The 11 a.m. on Saturday is the Corvus Belli Gen Con studio update.
So I just caught something. The date of Gen Con, August first weekend in August, right?
Yep.
That actually lines up with our Dead Week.
Oh, Jason's going to Gen Con.
We'd love to have you.
I'd have a second job that I have to do that weekend, though. I got to talk to my wife. But
if you can come out, man,
exciting.
It'd be awesome. I
imagine all the hotels are already booked.
Dude,
we'll talk offline.
Yeah,
we'll talk offline.
Put the pop up.
I don't have a pop up. I got a 24-foot camper, baby. I'll just go camp.
Go camp.
I mean, that could work too. But we can figure it out. So yeah.
I just texted my wife during this podcast and said, we can go to Gen Con this year. I just perked up when I looked up, because I was looking up the dates for when this tickets go on sale, which I still have not found. I noticed the dates and I went, that is recognizable.
Oh, I'm noticing here we've got a couple extra events that are non-true tournament Infinity events. There is Thursday at 9 p.m. trivia of the Human Sphere and Lindworm. So the two universes that Corvus Belli runs, Human Sphere from Infinity and Lindworm from Warcrow. Friday at 8 p.m. is Tag Deathmatch, the ever popular fun Tag Deathmatch.
Can't go wrong with that.
Really cannot. Players must come with 1 tag each if you're going to be playing in that. Everything else, bring your dice, measuring device, and tag. The rules for your tag will be provided on site. And then Saturday at 9:30 p.m. is Rocket Tag. It says, from the man behind the Gen Con narrative comes his new twisted creation, Rocket Tag.
Oh, no.
That means it's another Chad invention. Is
that like tag racing?
I can only hope. I mean,
one could only.
We can hope. So that's really all this. I'm excited for all of those things.
Come back with the feedback from all that.
I will take vigorous notes and maybe some recording. But yeah, that's the plan. And Jason, that would be fantastic if the two of you could make it.
Well,
to
we're gonna
the
have a
Gen Con this year.
conversation after we get done recording this.
I do not doubt that.
That'd be a
Let's
perfect start to my fall.
transition into our last little segment for the night. What is everybody working on? So we didn't do it at the beginning. I normally do it at the beginning, but let's talk
We
about
did.
it now.
Well, I am.
We did. Well,
currently
we're
out-
so excited to talk about other things.
I know.
This is a
Kennedy
good
Con
wrap.
is
This is a
like
good
coming
wrap
up.
up. This is a good wrap
Good.
up.
So right now, I am in the midst of binging X-Men '97, and it is got me hankering to get back and finish my Infinity X-Men Nomads army. I have 9 more models planned for it that have not seen the table yet. Most of them are already converted. There's like I think 2 or 3 that still need conversions, but the rest of them that have been converted still need paint, and to get onto the table and in the in the case and on the display board. So I'm really kind of hankering for that. On top of it, sticking with the X-Men theme, Mike Say, our friend Mike Say from Minnesota, we just saw at KennedyCon and at AdeptCon, a whole bunch of stuff. He's fantastic. He's constantly printing all these awesome, really cool things on his 3D printer, and he sent me a. I don't know if it's a bust. If it's the top half, is it still?
I would call it a bust.
Still a bust. Okay, so it's a really
display piece.
Yeah, it's a display bust of Scott Summers of Cyclops in that 90s Jim Lee era, like the specific outfit costume that we're all now familiar with. And it's just going to be awesome. And I've never really painted a bust, so it's something I really want to try my hand at. So again, that X-Men '97 that I've been watching, and I know Jason,
So
I'll be
good.
catching up here to you soon, and we can
good.
talk about all 10 of the episodes as soon as I've caught up.
What I'm interested in,
So
the comic books better than I want to hear your comparisons, because
okay, absolutely.
the first episode I didn't know that about Scott Summers. So
yep. Nice
I
little
need
Easter egg
more.
in there that I'm not going to ruin for anybody. It's a little insight.
hey, if you
into...
haven't watched it by now, that's your own fault.
I haven't watched it, but I don't mind spoilers. So.
Okay. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm focusing on. Is it's like that X-Men, blood is pumping yet again. How about Jason or Will? You know what, Will, how about you?
I haven't had a chance to sit down and paint recently, but I've been doing a lot of 3D printing. I was able to get my hands on the Organizer 3.0 files, and I printed myself a carrying case. So that has been a fun journey to try to get that all out and working. And then in conjunction with that, I went and started 3D printing bases for BattleTech, and I'm weird. I like to do stuff in weird sizes. So like when I first got into BattleTech, I'm like, these bases are too small, and I went to Warsenal, friends of the show, and bought some bigger sized ones out of MDF, and they just the mechs look better on it. And there's more real estate to do fun stuff on the bases, but they were MDF and they didn't have any slots for magnets in the bottom. So I'm like, well, I need to teach myself again how to make 3D models, and went and found a free 3D modeling software and made myself hex bases with a hole in the bottom for magnets, which in the grand scheme isn't that hard, but it's been like coming up on 15 years since I've done any 3D modeling, so I had to relearn.
Okay, nice. That's good.
So that's that, and I did find some small, like 15 millimeter samurai models. So I'm tempted just to print that just to be silly.
That sounds like fun.
The 3D printing.
Dude, it's one of those things. Like it's like, what do I want to do today? I'm gonna go find this and print it, and
he wants to paint Jason's note.
That requires time, and I need some time.
I was gonna say the print run, you can set it and walk away, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about printing is you can like maybe spend 15 minutes messing with it in the computer, and you put it on there, and then you walk away and do stuff like the organizer stuff. Like I would start it in the morning, and then I would go to work, and I would come home, and I'm like, this piece is done, and pop it off, and then continue the cycle. So yes, I need to get your.
I got
your
one. I got one printed from.
yeah.
Oh,
He's a
nice.
friend of the show either. I did it in Brohalla colors. I have a Brohalla text on it. Or actually, I've found a guy that me to try to convert our logo so that it can print it in.
Oh,
So
that's
I'm
sweet.
David wasn't quite sure how to do it, but I found another guy that was doing organizer stuff online, and he's
Okay.
gonna try to convert our image into the colors needed. To put the logo on the.
Oh, that's
See
cool.
what happens, but that's the goal.
I can't wait to see the results of that.
The organizer case, it's pretty cool. Like it is a fully 3D printed carrying case for models.
The only thing I'm not sure I'm gonna like is that most of the accessory slots are on the exterior of the case. So we'll see. I think I'll like it, but I'm not sure yet.
Yeah,
Because I'm waiting for they're gonna release MCP specific token holders and things like that in June. What David told me. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on to figure out how I'm going. Because I quickly found out during Adepticon, I'm carrying this. I have the Table of War case, but I have the double wide, which is like the same height as the small one. Only, well, it's actually bigger, but it's like the double width. Not the really big one, but the middle one. But that sucker is so hard to carry around. And I'm like, but I didn't necessarily want the small Table of War carrying case because it didn't quite have enough for what I wanted, and then came across this. I'm like, this could be my solution for my tournament case. And they do specific like trays and things for different games. So
I mean that's the big thing I like about it is like it's the trays in. Again, I'm gonna jump on a soapbox here. 3D printing has become a lot more accessible in the last 3 years. Even like it's changed so much in that time frame where it's like you could churn stuff out, and just having be able to, and sorry to some of those companies where it's like, yes, I'm going to go spend X amount of dollars on these trays and stuff like that and pull them in. I mean, I've done that. I bought the magnetile case for my battle foam bag and stuff, but being able to go, let me go spend $13 on an STL tray set or something like that if I have my own printer, and not even a roll of filament, and print it out as I need it. And
mine was a little more expensive because I did 3.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like if you're looking for Matt, who sadly isn't here, we were talking about it, like the cost, and it's like if you really want like multiple colors, I mean, if you're printing it yourself, or someone doesn't have those colors already on hand, yeah, it's going to cost you more because you have to buy the filament, and filament's like $25 to $30 a roll and stuff, and but I think you can do an entire case for just about over a roll of filament, or I think you could do a case with a roll of filament minus the
I
trays.
think I paid bucks.
Yeah,
colors
for 3 and that fits right about 3 colors. So,
and that was kind of David's test run. I mean,
yeah,
what I like about it is like you talk to the person and be like, hey, I really want this piece for this thing. Design something like that, and they can't. Like, it's not like you're not doing that with Table of War, Battle Foam, or whatever. That's what I like about it. Like, I can make it what I want it to be. Because I still have yet to find something that I like all the way around.
Yeah, and there'll be infinite ways of you can take, well, I know these files exist, let me go and modify it or do something like that.
Right.
So I was talking to other...
The customization specifically,
yeah.
There's a huge upside to it.
And just to be able to, you can do it at home or find someone who has a printer and they can do it for you. I've been talking to a couple other people who have this, and someone, so this is going to be a name that Scott knows, Dexter. You remember Dex?
Yeah.
He apparently has printed one out of carbon fiber.
Really?
I'm like, ooh. I'm gonna need to see a picture of this at some point. And I'm like, you should ask him if he's willing to drop it and see if it shatters.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
carbon fiber is stronger than PLA.
Yeah.
You know.
David did do a drop test on us. He did crack his.
Yeah. Just say I don't think that was an intentional drop test though.
Well,
no, it was totally intentional.
It was intentional. It was just Matt's suggestion that's prompted the test.
I mean, but here's the thing: like, he just has to print a new bottom. Like that's it. Like, it's not like, say I drop my a tableware case and the corner shatters or something like that. That case is now
compromised and done.
And what is it going to take to fix that? Versus, okay, let me undo a couple screws, go print a new bottom, and put it in. Yes, the minis may not have survived, but it probably wouldn't have survived.
Many minis surviving that drop anyway.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. So
maybe maybe foam. Foam might be a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but foam is foam. So
awesome.
Jason, what are you working on?
Oh, all kinds of stuff, man. Not only am I working, I'm playing a lot. I'm playing more than probably these guys are. Yes. I have a wonderful wife, and I take advantage of when she works Saturday mornings and when she has other things going on. As long as I get my chores done and my honey-do list, I can do what I want. So I do not have kids. There's that part too. I have fur baby. So I spent last week Sunday playing MCP, and I played Shatterpoint, which has re-piqued my interest. I'm starting to enjoy that game more than I did on its onset, for various reasons, which I'm not going to go into all that right now. But I am more enjoying the game. The reason why I got the game in the first place was, one, obviously it's Star Wars, strong IP. The minis look amazing. The game did not feel great off the onset, but I also feel like I didn't give it a fair shake. I think most of our meta didn't, and now that there's more missions and more packs, I have an itch. So I decided to get a tournament organized for it, so there'll be a Shatterpoint tournament here locally on the 15th June, and then the next week I'm playing an MCP tournament at Tempest Games on the 23rd. That's what's going on in the gaming world.
Nice.
So that also means that I'm working on Shatterpoint, Star Wars stuff, working on my clones. I own everything in the game except for Hondo and Cad Bane and Padme. That box. There's only 2 boxes I don't own.
Okay.
With the exception of the most recent, Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian. But I did get Clone Force 99. I have played them on the table. They're super fun. The minis are great, so I'm working on a clone list right now. Between finishing my clones, they're primed. I'm doing it the easy contrast paint way, which I don't know why I do it, because I'm never happy with the result anyway. I end up going farther anyway. So I started with, I primed them, I painted them white, I apothecaried white, and I was going to just dry brush, and then paint some of the details and be done. Well, after the apothecary white just doesn't quite do enough for me. Maybe Will does it better than I do. Maybe it's because the minis are bigger and you can see more of the details than, like, say, the Legion stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this now. So I null and oiled everything tonight. And then I dry brushed white, and I'm like, okay, I like that better. So I didn't need to do the apothecary white step. But I like this better. It pulls a little bit more of the details out. I think I'm only doing it for the stormtroopers. The clones, I think I'm going to leave and then just paint the company colors, 501st and all that stuff.
Okay.
And I've got. I'm also full in. I'm playing in the season 14 MCP TTS League. 1-1. Won my first week pretty. Second week I played our local Garrett, who's a really good player, and that was a 16-14 game. Came down to a Nightcrawler blanking an 8 dice roll.
Oh wow!
To kill MODOK to hopefully win the game. So the dice are just as bad online as they are in real life. But that means that I'm also working on my X-Men, and X-Men 97's got me full on. So I've got Xavier to do, I've got Nightcrawler to do, I've got Kitty Pryde to do. I'm using Okoye as a splash. I got to get her done. Magic.
Love it.
I'm working on Magic. I've got and I gotta get Crimson Diamond is another splash I have, so I gotta get him done. So I went from playing fully painted list to now I have 6 models to paint, and those models I actually care about, so I will take my time because my thing is my X-Men are the ones I take my time on. I don't just contrast paint.
Heck yeah.
I do contrast paint like the start, but it helps me see the details, and then I can highlight on top of that. But
no, it's a good process. It's a good process. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of stumbled upon it when I was doing Bishop. I tried it, and I'm like, oh, this kind of works, because I have a hard time seeing the like muscle details and the subtle rises and things that I'm sure better artists than me can see. So when I put a little contrast paint in, I thin it down pretty heavily, and then I can see the ridges a lot better. And that'll work.
Oh, nice. That's a good idea.
So, yeah, I'm working as much as I can. I mean, I didn't really do much this week. We had a state title on Tuesday that we didn't get home until midnight, so that was pretty cooked. I was pretty cooked after that.
Technology delaying the whole day.
It was a day, man. It was a day. I even took Marvel Zombies because we're gonna have after our first. I mean, I knew we were gonna win. I knew we were gonna win the first one for sure. But we were supposed to have like a 5-hour delay, so I was like, I'm gonna bring Marvel Zombies. I'm gonna play, and we ended up getting delayed forever, so I got a chance to get it out.
Right, because you didn't know when you were.
Didn't know when we were gonna. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that's on my table. I got a whole room I gotta clean. Get some things reorganized. Every time I get rolling on stuff, I realize how much stuff is still there. Blood and Punder's still in the box, which I want to get out. Sounds like Matt is really into the Clash of Clans stuff, so I'm like kind of intrigued by that a little bit. And
not Clash of Clans.
Or Clash of Steel, sorry.
Clash of Steel.
Clash of Steel.
And that Clash of Steel is the tank game that we picked up at Adepticon.
Yeah, that everybody is like, I don't want. And then Matt actually took the time to watch a video and was like, this is kind of interesting, kind of cool. So why you don't get rid of your stuff and you always give it a chance. Which actually next year I'm doing it, and if I go to Gen Con, that's my thing. I was like, maybe Adepticon is more realistic, but like make myself demo games that I maybe wouldn't be interested in.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean,
like I kind of wish I would have just went and tried Fallout. Or even Halo, even though I don't like Halo. Like, just try it.
Good idea. I mean, it is good to push yourself out of those comfort zones and just try something just to see how it is. Like you said, it's a 5-minute demo, right?
Yeah. Why not?
You know?
Why not see what else is out there?
That way you can say for certain that one's not for me. Or, hey, wait a minute, I didn't realize I was going to do that.
That's the afraid part. Hey, guys, look at this game. This is freaking awesome. That's what happened with Blood and Plunder. I bought it and it still sits there. Son of a gun. There just isn't enough time. If I could figure out how to do it full time, we would all be doing it and making money, loving it. Fortunately, it's not in the cards for most.
Yeah, unfortunately, we live in the really real world, which is unfortunate sometimes.
Where we watch our stores and our business gamers titles struggle. Occasionally, some are thriving, some are struggling. It's not an easy world for that stuff.
Right. Awesome. Sounds like fun. Maybe we'll ask Matt to kind of walk us through Clash of Steel for a future video here.
I mean, he's going to be here, so that's coming. Matt moved. He's got a bigger basement, so we're going to have a dedicated video area. So more content will be coming. As far as just doing this, we'll actually have some table playing. I know Will and I, and Will's been talking about some ideas he's got. So we're soon going to be venturing off of just the talking into the rolling dice and showing some fun things on the table.
Yeah, I have some.
We got to paint
in the works. I have to print lots and lots of tanks and mechs.
Not just print. We got to get it painted too. That's the trick.
Oh yeah, I know.
Rattle can, baby, rattle can.
I mean, yeah, that's really all you need is rattle can, a wash, and a dry brush, and it's good enough for a table.
That's a good point. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us and talking through all of this. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see everybody again real soon. Thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely. Have a good one where you're at.
Have a good one, everyone.